Welcome to Ghoulish Gab. Always spooky, always under 7 minutes. We're not on Zoom again. Hooray!
Hooray!
We're not really drunk either.
No.
You're gonna have to take our word for it. Today we are talking about horror movie prequels. If you don't like sequels, you probably also don't like prequels. So whatever, who gives a shit?
Yeah, well then why are you watching this video?
Let's talk about a couple that we like. I want to start with Annabelle Creation because the first movie was really just mediocre to me.
Okay.
Wasn't a very exciting killer doll movie. And the third movie, which also focuses on the doll, was a complete piece of shit. I just fucking hated that movie. Nobody died. There was no danger. It was the stupidest shit I ever saw. But the second one, which was a prequel to the first one, focused on the killer whose soul is supposedly trapped in the Annabelle doll. So instead of a killer doll bullshit movie, you actually got a semi-gritty slasher-type serial killer origin story, which worked a lot better. And for me, that's the only one in the franchise that I actually gave any sort of shit about. So that is a prequel that I think works better than anything else in that franchise for me.
I have never watched any of the Annabelle movies because as a paranormal enthusiast, I'm mad that they turned Annabelle from a Raggedy Ann doll to whatever the fuck she was. Because the whole point of it being creepy is that she was supposed to look like any doll you could have in your childhood home.
I'm going to guess that was the licensing
Well,
issue.
that very well might have been true. You know what, you're right. For my first movie, I have Prey, which is the prequel to Predator, which I thought it was a very fresh and different take on the Predator franchise, which is a franchise I actually generally don't enjoy. I'm not a Predator fan, typically.
You don't like buff dudes? Is that your problem?
I don't like buff dudes with firm handshakes. It's just not for me, that all become governors at some point or another. But I thought it was a real cool story about a warrior trying to like save a tribe, and had a really good pace and good suspense and really good visuals, which I'm learning as I get older matter to me a lot, apparently. So there is, and if you watch it, I believe it's on Hulu, you can watch it in English, but they also have a full version in the indigenous language, which I forget what the language is at the moment, but if you can handle watching a movie with subtitles, I recommend watching it that way because it changes the feel of the movie a lot.
Nice.
So.
I agree. I really enjoyed that one as well, but I also like the old Predator movies with just a bunch of buff dudes fighting an alien. So, but that one worked well too. Yeah. I mean, they had to change the tone at some point. So the first Purge is another one. If you've watched these videos, I'm a big fan of that series. I like the sheer terror of just mixing, home invasion with everything else where, if you don't protect yourself, anybody could be coming to get you. That's absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
Just know that they could get away with it too. And it's not because I've pissed off a lot of people. That's not why I'm scared of those movies.
You've pissed off a lot of people, though. But watch your ass if Purge happens.
It might happen. But the first Purge, I don't remember how many movies that came out in the series before that offhand, but it was very satisfying to actually kind of see an origin story to it. And it kind of dealt with like this crazy gun-obsessed, religiously nutty America that got to the point of the Purge, which also makes it more scary if you look outside your window because you're going to see that right now. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm counting this one, my next selection, Saw 10.
Yeah, that counts.
It's between Saw and Saw 2. If you haven't seen it, you absolutely should. But I think it does what some prequels fail to do, which is provide super important details that flesh out the whole series. So then once you've watched that, now the rest of the movie series is that much better. Tobin Bell is amazing. You get to a point in it where it like humanizes John Kramer, and like all of a sudden you're rooting for the serial killer, which is a weird vibe. As with every Saw movie, like even the Saw movies that kind of suck, It's got excellent death scenes, creative, excellent death scenes. Good Easter eggs. I did not know this until I was looking up the movie, but apparently there's a phone number hidden somewhere in that movie where if you call it, there's like, it links you to additional content that like fleshes out more of the story for you.
That reminds me of like the early internet days.
Yeah.
Weird shit like that. That's cool.
And then finally, as with every Saw movie, the music. I can't get enough of the Saw theme music. I think it's my favorite horror theme music.
Yeah.
Total.
The last one I have is the first Omen, just from 2024. So another kind of newer one. And first of all, it's a bold choice to revisit the Omen and try to do a prequel. I know there's been a bunch of sequels that were stupid, but it's still kind of bold to, after the craze of those sequels has died out, to go back to it. But the first Omen is a good example of a movie that does new stuff while keeping the same tones and paying enough homage to the original that everything works really well. And for me, even religious stuff is creepy in a certain context.
Yeah.
And this one kind of makes that creepy again. And it's everything just kind of worked, and it doesn't force I don't know, there's a lot of good shit in there. It's creepy. It just works well. And yeah.
Just one quick one before we wrap up that I had is Paranormal Activity 3. I like the Paranormal Activity movies. I am a huge fan of found footage. And I like that it finally put kind of... Like, for the first two movies, you're like, okay, I get it. There's this creepy entity in the house, and you don't know what it wants. I like that it added some idea of how this all ended up happening. Because for a while, you don't even have a name for the demonic entity that's haunting these families, but now you get that.
Steve, wasn't it?
Yes, it was Chad. Chad from Paranormal Activity 3.
Well, there you go. If you're looking for some prequels to watch, there's some suggestions from us. Special thanks to our special guest, Seymour. And, as always, in the comments, tell us what you thought about our choices and tell us some of your favorite prequels. Or don't.
Bye.